There are many animals on Earth, and sometimes one animal's survival depends on another's death. But when it comes to our pets, we don't want to think about that. A python wrapped around a mother dog. Moments later, something terrible happened. The mother dog was focused on keeping her puppies safe from the big snake in front of them. It was almost impossible to protect all three puppies. They ran around, and she jumped in front of them as much as she could. Just then, the python lunged, grabbing her and wrapping around her while her humans were inside the house. The snake started to squeeze, and her time was running out. She couldn't bark and could barely breathe. Did the dog know how close she was to dying? If she didn't survive, it would leave a big gap in her family. She was loved just like any other family member. When Emma and Mark took over the family farm, they found that their old family dog wouldn't be enough to guard their new, large property in South Africa. That's why they decided to get another German Shepherd. The new pup was named Brutus. He grew strong, surrounded by the love that Emma and Mark poured into his training, and developed a firm bond with his family, especially with Mark. Brutus followed him everywhere. He was sweet, but his behavior made him nervous. The older dog passed away soon after the puppy's arrival, which meant that she was left all alone when Brutus and Mark were out on the farm. It could be scary since Emma didn't grow up on the farm. There was nothing like a night in the African bush. No street lamps anywhere in sight of their home. The darkness could be thick, not to mention the ominous presence of certain animals, like the jackals with their unsettling cries in the night. It could be something magical to experience, but it might be scary if you were out there on your own. Sometimes Mark stayed overnight, which freaked Emma out. Knowing this, Mark came up with an idea. He returned home and asked Emma to grab a few things from the pickup truck. It was a strange request, but she didn't think much of it and went out. In the passenger seat, she saw a little female German Shepherd waiting for her. The puppy wiggled and licked her face as soon as Emma picked her up. Emma was charmed, and so was Brutus. They named the pup Coco. The two dogs instantly became best friends, but one day everything changed in the most tragic way imaginable. By the time Coco was 3, she and Emma had settled into a routine, while Brutus still went out with Mark. One day, Mark returned from the field and asked where Brutus was. Emma hadn't seen him all day and thought he had left with Mark. Panic set in as they realized Brutus was missing. Coco had been nervous all day, and Emma had kept her inside. They figured out that Brutus had last been seen early that morning. When they took Coco out on a leash, hoping she would lead them to Brutus, they found tufts of dog hair and blood near a snake track, confirming their worst fears. Heartbroken, they returned home. Mark was furious and searched for the snake at first light, but it had vanished. They searched for days, but the snake was gone, likely hibernating for the winter. Back at home, Emma and Mark were sad, and they felt guilty. Even Coco seemed to be out of sorts. She was a lot sleepier than usual and napped far more than normal. She was even gaining weight because she wasn't as active as she normally was, or so they thought, until Emma realized something amazing. Coco was pregnant. She was going to have Brutus's puppies. It would be like having a small part of him back. They just had to make sure that the puppies would stay safe and that Coco would remain healthy. They made sure she stayed close to the house for months, but nothing scary happened. They also kept a close eye on Coco. It would be devastating to lose her or any of the puppies. It was all planned out. They would take her to the vet a day or two before the delivery, and then the vet could take care of her through the birth. But puppies, just like babies, don't wait for other people's timelines. One night, after Emma and Mark returned home from dinner, they found Coco napping in her bed, but she wasn't alone. 2 tiny puppies lay beside her, and they were shocked to see them. Suddenly, Coco stood up and began to pace. Concerned, they quickly grabbed the puppies to keep them safe. Soon after, Coco gave birth to her 3rd puppy. She licked him, but he didn't move. Mark gently picked him up, rubbed his chest, and blew on his tiny nose. Miraculously, the puppy began to breathe. Mark placed him back with Coco, who settled down to nurse her 3 puppies. It was a heartwarming sight, especially since the little boy resembled Brutus as a puppy, making it bittersweet. For a few months, The family enjoyed a peaceful life with their new pets. The puppies brought joy and laughter, helping Emma and Mark heal from the loss of Brutus. However, that sense of safety wouldn't last long. By spring, the puppies had grown and were ready to play outside. Coco was a caring mother, keeping a close eye on them. They usually played in a fenced area, but on this day, danger lurked nearby. While Coco focused on her puppies, a strange sound or smell caught her attention. Before she realized it, the puppies were close to a massive python. She jumped in front of them to protect them, but the curious puppies didn't understand the danger. As Coco tried to keep them away, she didn't notice the snake moving until it lunged at her, wrapping tightly around her body. Emma was in the house when she heard Coco bark. She was just on her way to check when the dog stopped. She thought that meant everything was fine. What she didn't know was that the dog had stopped barking because the air was being squeezed out of her. Mark was out in his workshop, and he didn't see it. If either of them had checked the live cameras, they might have known the danger their dog was in, but they didn't. Coco was at the mercy of the snake. She couldn't bark, and she could barely take a breath. Was this going to be the end? Was this snake going to make the 3 puppies orphans? The python twisted around the mama dog, and seconds later, the unimaginable happened. Just as it seemed like all hope was lost, the 3 puppies began to bark furiously. They even tried to bite the snake, but they didn't make much of an impression. All they achieved was to get the snake angry, causing it to bite down on poor Coco, making sure it could hold on to its prey. It pulled tighter and held on to her. The puppies couldn't help much, but their furious barking got Emma's attention in the house. They had never sounded so angry. Not hearing Coco now suddenly scared her. Emma couldn't believe what she was seeing right there in front of her. She screamed at Mark to come as quickly as he could and to bring vinegar with him. She felt nauseous looking at the sight in front of her. Her beloved dog Coco was being crushed by one of the biggest pythons Emma had ever seen. The 3 puppies next to her were watching their mama being crushed. Emma grabbed them and put them in a nearby puppy crate. The last thing she needed was for them to get hurt. She screamed at Mark again, and he finally came running. Emma's desperate screams told him all he needed to know. She was terrified. As soon as he saw the massive python around their dog, he knew why. He also knew that this snake was likely responsible for the loss of their beloved Brutus. They were determined not to lose another dog to this python. They took the vinegar and poured some over the mouth of the snake. They knew it might hurt Coco and burn the wound caused by the snake, but survival was more important at that moment. When the snake tasted the vinegar, it stopped biting Coco and loosened its grip. This allowed Mark and Emma to get their hands between the snake and Coco. They started unwrapping the snake from her tail, the weakest part. While they did this, they held the snake's head away to prevent it from biting again. Soon Coco was free. Although they didn't know how badly she was hurt, she began to breathe deeply and whimper, showing she was still alive. While Mark held the snake, Emma got a bucket. They decided not to kill the snake, knowing it was just trying to survive. They put holes in the bucket lid and took the python to a shelter where it would be safe and wouldn't threaten their pets again. Next, they rushed Coco to the vet. She was awake but in pain, with a few broken ribs. Luckily, her puppies had alerted them in time. They made sure the puppies didn't climb on her for a few days and kept her wound clean. Soon, Coco was feeling much better, and the puppies were safe too. Mark and Emma decided to keep all 3 puppies, giving them plenty of space to play. The male pup they saved grew up to bond with Mark, just like Brutus had. The family stayed together. The snake was taken to a large natural area where it could be free and wouldn't come back to the farm. This way, it wouldn't be in danger from other farms either. It was the best choice for everyone. Would you have treated the snake kindly? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update from our channel. Thank you.